I'm Jessica Peresta, host of the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAtFive or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected.
Hey PLN, April 11, 2022. Welcome to episode 68 of Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. And as I start off the week, it's been a great weekend. I got to relax this weekend. I even mowed my lawn and did some things around the house. Coming off of the Can You Learn DL Symposium 22 that happened live in person in Burnaby, British Columbia. And it was so fantastic to see my colleagues and other teachers like myself in the province of BC, connect with some from afar, and just learn and grow as teachers. And you know what? Also to have some fun. My goodness, I listened to a number of people speak, and it was fun to listen to others share what they have to say. I learned about painting in Google Drawing, and I've been doing a little bit of that with my class. Shout out to Emma Cottier and Michelle Armstrong, as they brought lots of sessions from the Cobblestone Collective. So that was super great, and others. So I learned a lot of things, had a lot of fun, and Paul Hembley out of Kamloops brought his electric unicycles down to the conference, and I got to ride an electric unicycle, a one wheel that goes between your legs and has paddles on each side, and you go down the street. Paul took time to teach me how to do that. Super fantastic. What a great way to get a boost of energy. Okay, on that note, I got a lot of marking to do. Got a lot of things to do at school because, well, I played hooky for a couple days for my students, but that's okay. We all need to do that at points. All right, and without further ado, I got one more thing for Jake Miller coming up right away. Hang on. One more thing for April 11, 2022. This is one of Jake Miller's favorite segments. And Jake, this is about you and your podcast. And episode 74 of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Dude, I turned on my podcatcher and up popped Educational Duct Tape. Jake is taking a break. And what do I see? I see a podcast. Doesn't compute, doesn't work, doesn't fit in my brain. So I have to listen. You need to listen too. Take a listen to episode 74 as Jake tells us about a new podcast that he has started. Thought you're busy, Jake? Well, you put all these questions that we're all going to ask at the front of the episode. Go take a listen, because Jake brings us a new podcast. In Educational Duct Tape, episode 74, Jake shares with us the trailer as well as episode 1 of his new podcast that's called the EdTech News Brief. And he brings us EdTech news, and he keeps it brief. That's how it goes. And so for that, Jake has taken out a lot of the, not noise, all the extra, the pedagogy, the deep conversation, the things that he has shared on Educational Duct Tape, and he's bringing us the news so that I don't have to spend hours scouring Google and Microsoft and other places to get the EdTech news that is relevant for how these tools are working in my classroom. In this new to me podcast, it's new to me. It's called the EdTech news brief. I just subscribed, Jake, and just for listener counts, I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again so that you get another tick on your listener count for this new podcast. But what's interesting is that you share your rationale, why you're doing it, and how you might have lice. No. It wasn't lice. It was, you mentioned the word lice, and then I think, wow, I don't know. Okay, so anyhow, you're going to go hear what he's talking about lice and mosquitoes and how that relates to his new podcast. All right, thanks so much, Jake. And go subscribe to this podcast. And there's a contest at the end of it. Can't give you the code, but you got to go listen to enter to win prizes. Peace, bye. One more thing for April 11, 2022, episode 210. That's 2.10 of the Prairie Rose Possibilities came out, and Cammie has gone to 7-person school just outside of Medicine Hat, which is a grade 9 to 12 school, but they have, it seems from what I hear, a grade 4 to 6 Fine Arts Academy attached to the school. I'm not sure how many students are in the Fine Arts Academy, but a smaller number, and in grade 4 to 6. And Cammie talks with the art teacher and the drama teacher and the music teacher at the Fine Arts Academy, and they talk about their project of working on kaleidoscope presentations. And kaleidoscope is the big Prairie Rose Prairie Rose District coming together in May. So it'll be on May 18th in June. That's a Wednesday. And how they meet at the big theater in Medicine Hat for an evening of art and fine arts and production, and the kids are involved in things from making the set. They're doing a play, the 33 Little Pigs, and yes, super fantastic. Jack, Ben, and Nixon are students in the Fine Arts Academy, and they talk about their experience, and Cammie interviews them, talks about the things that are challenging, things that they like, and some advice to a grade 3 student considering coming in to the program. Great to hear their voices. You know what? This is exciting for me to just even hear what's going on in another space in the world. So Cammie, thank you so much for sharing and continuing to share. You got this started so you can share this in your district. But beyond, here we are. I'm out in British Columbia cheering on these kids, and I'm looking forward to hearing how Kaleidoscope goes in May. So hopefully you can bring us a kaleidoscope review in this podcast so I can catch it. All right, take care. Have a fabulous day, Cammie, and Prairie Rose Possibilities Schools. Peace. Bye. The last thing for April 11, 2022, Jen Giffen, good to hear your voice this morning as you brought us season 5, episode 13 of Shooks and Giff, the podcast. And on this, you bring us 7 short shares. And I like this format, how you got your 7 things. And I like knowing how many you're going to bring, because then I'm counting. I'm a counter and I can keep track. So you brought us one where you have text to map, and it might not be called that, but it's like that. You've got freeze and hide and Sir GIF and a way of making GIFs of your own, and manga out of the box and Caloodle. And so, you got me going on Wordle a bit ago, and I'm like, what is this thing that Jen keeps talking about? And Jen, I'm a fan now. Have you seen the video about Wordle or something like that? And there's a popular song, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'll attach the link to that video, if I find it, to the tweet that I'm going to put out right now. And I'll also put in the show notes about Wordle. Super hilarious. And I was watching it going, okay, I do that. Oh, okay, I do that. And I bet, Jen, you do a lot of the things that are in that video too, as we practice our Wordle and things like that. So, some days I'm super frustrated. I do get a little help sometimes from my friends, but most of the time I do it on my own. And I have not been skunked, I don't think, since I started, which I'm really thankful for, which means I'm going 6 on a sum. There's one day that I got it in 3. I don't think I've done 2. Okay, so those of you that aren't understanding what I'm talking about, Wordle is this word game from the New York Times. Go to their website on your Safari browser, on your iPhone, and then you can make a home button there, a button that puts it on your home screen for Wordle. I've got mine, I got Knuckle. I don't do much more than that. I heard there's lots. Okay, have a great day all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey PLN, April 12th. My goodness, back after a weekend and after the conference and not marking for a bit. I spent a long day yesterday marking, getting caught up on my online student marking, and I'm thankful for my online students and the fact that they were able to continue working while I was engaged in the conference work that I was doing. So did that, and this morning, honestly, I did not want to get out here. Didn't want to do it. I truly didn't want to get out the door, but I'm so thankful that I did. As I stepped out the door, it is cool. It's probably about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. We're expecting some weird snow weather today, and Vancouver Island's expecting some snow, and they got some yesterday, and winter's not over yet. With this climate change that's going on, things are bizarre. So I'm looking forward to it settling down so that we can get on with fishing and other things like that. Okay, as I step out the door and started walking, I listened to the House of EdTech, episode 199. The title, Stop Using EdTech. I was like, what? I'm like, okay, I need to listen. And as I listened, Chris went off on why technology should not be used in schools and in our world, and how distracting and all this. And he went on a rant, and he he must have written this down because it wouldn't come out as smoothly, I don't think. But Chris, thank you for the provocation to think about all the negatives of technology and how we as EdTech teachers and users and technology people work with this stuff and how it fulfills and enriches our lives. So take a listen to episode 199 for all of the why you shouldn't use technology, and I bet you'll have like a visceral reaction like I did, and I want to say something. So thanks, Chris. I do agree that there is a whole lot of that stuff that is possible. Safest internet is no internet, that I always say. All right, but that's not true. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye. One more thing for April 12th, 2022. On the heels of episode 199 and of the House of EdTech with Chris Nesi and his rant about why we need to stop using technology, which is not true, by the way, it gets you thinking about, why do we do some of the things that we do? And why do we not do some of the things that we do? And fear is a big motivator for sitting on the couch and not doing the things that we do. There's a whole lot of things outside of technology that if we let fear stand in our way, we would not explore the oceans. We would not fly through the air. We would not, use the internet. We would not be in touch with each other the way that we are through our phones, because this technology is weird, and you know what? We have to just let it be. My grandparents, the first microwave that they had in their house, I was there when it arrived, and my grandpa's like, get that thing out of my house. I don't want it in my house because it can cause problems, and I've read in the newspaper and blah, blah, blah. And those were the fearmongers talking about the microwave. I couldn't live without my microwave. I couldn't live without my microwave. Right now, I'm walking in the dark, and if I was afraid of the dark, the light even went off a little bit more, I would stop walking. I would stay home on my couch where it's safe. So fear keeps us on our couches and in our comfort zones, and we need to be mindful of that, learn about the things that are beyond the couch, and step into things that are new. Another one more thing for April 12th, 2022. As I'm walking along, I listened to something that got my attention again, and Got Tech the podcast. Can't remember what episode number it is, 108 or 109, but it's the one where Eric and Nick bring us the productivity EdTech throwdown and the metaverse. And they open up talking about the metaverse as Web 3.0, which is coming to the internet near you. And we're starting to see some of that as an interactive thing, as a certification thing, as a quality assurance, making sure that what we're looking at, we can verify. So verifications and things like that. I don't really understand this stuff, but I need to listen to it more so that I can learn and not be afraid. Not stay on my couch because I don't understand it. So I've talked in the past about blockchain, and from a bit of my learning recently in the past couple months, not understanding blockchain, but I need to learn about it. And I think there's a door that's just opening right now. And Eric and Nick have cracked that door open and provided an access point through Ed3 Web Educators or something. Okay, it's in the episode. I got it wrong, but it's about looking at the metaverse and how it can be useful in education. Takes me to real Ready Player One, the movie that I saw. I haven't read the book, but about how there's an alternate world that's sitting right here on the other side of the screen, which we are engaged in a whole lot already. We do that already, but that we can go to places, we can go to conferences, and we can go to meta conferences where we don't have to be in the same space, but we can be in the same space. Kumo Space is another look at how we can do that kind of gather world that they were talking about to interact with each other. Okay, I got one more thing to say about something else that they just talked about, so I'm coming back 1 second. So this is my last thing for April 12, 2022. While I was out there, I decided to check, and it's episode 109 of Got Tech, the podcast. Thanks, gents, for the 6 things that you shared in the Productivity EdTech Throwdown that you said you typically do live in conferences or you do in Pro D or things like that, but you brought it to us here on your podcast. So thanks so much. I really dig it. And you know what? I dig because you guys bring 3 tools each that you share, you rate each other's, and then you leave it to us listeners and audience to engage with, to be, the judges on and to give the win to. And so from what I heard, Eric, you brought some stuff that's kind of meta with Tango, and you talked about IORAD for creating tutorials and these things that live in on a server somewhere, but you can go back and you can edit them. Tango's curious to me. These things are curious to me, but my concern is if I get bought in and I start doing this, how long will it be there? And will it just fold up and go away? That's why I put my stuff in the Internet Library of Congress. I mean, on YouTube. No, it's not the Library of Congress. YouTube, though, has a place to curate and put all kinds of resources. And I put a lot of videos there for that reason. Nick, you brought us Go Full Page, which is a web page decipherer, and it takes and collects the content off a web page and allows you to take out ads and things and to produce a PDF out of that. I really like that for my online learning. That might be a very useful thing. So something for me to consider. And Beeline Reader, I like that as well. So for me, the W goes to Nick on this one. All right, takes me to the idea of the demo slam that happens at conferences that I've been to for EdTech Team, and recently at DL Summit, because we had Cobblestone Collective there, and we had 6 educators, 6 presentations that are 3 minutes long in a smackdown method, and we all get up and share, and then the people vote and they get draw prizes, and I won at the last one. So I won the demo slam. Hey, PLN, Thursday, April 14th, 2022. Today is the eve of Good Friday and the Easter weekend, and I will not be working tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'll be recording tomorrow. I'm not going to go for a walk tomorrow because I'm going fishing tomorrow, but I probably will listen to something educational and reflect on it after I get to where I'm going. So yes, okay, I just decided right here while talking, I'm going to record tomorrow. So you can find me and find a post tomorrow, maybe later in the day here on Twitter, And definitely it'll be in the podcast. It'll be coming out at midnight tomorrow night. All right, happy Thursday to you. For me, this has been one full week. Other colleagues in my school are like, man, has it been busy since spring break? This is our second week back since spring break, and it has been super full. Actually, maybe this is our third week, but it's still really busy as we're moving through our content and our time with our students, and things are moving so fast. Yearbook is coming along, it's growing, doing well. My students are doing editing. We took an all-school photo in the past couple days. The challenge with my school is that the students aren't in the building all at the same time. So we had to take a 2-day photo, and then with some Photoshop magic wizardry, our principal, he put together a composite of the 2 days, and it looks fantastic. Lots of fun things you can do with Photoshop. I am not adept with that, and I am needing to learn that. So I'm not adept yet with that. And I have other tools that I use, but they can't do those kinds of things. All right, so here I am. I'm walking. I listened to episode 50 of High Tech Podcast with Will and Josh, and they bring us talk time, talking about how do we engage our students in our classrooms, and where does the conversation go. They brought it to discussions, and I'm going to pause this right now and come back with one more thing so I can say more things. Hang on. One more thing for April 14, 2022. Listening to the High Tech Podcast this morning, episode 50 with Will and Josh, who, by the way, are new members of the Educational Podcast Network that I am a part of. So they are new to the fold. And gents, congratulations and welcome to the podcast. Glad you could join us as we can promote each other's content, in our bumpers of our shows. And yes, so episode 50, and also episode 50, that's a lot of episodes. You guys have done great. I like your content. I like the way you put together your episodes. This is the second one that I have listened to. And so today you talked about talk time. How do we engage our classrooms in our discussions? The physical classroom, we can see it a lot sooner by looking at actually how do we talk and who do we talk to? Who does the talking in the room? Do we have a discussion and it goes back and forth? Then you brought it to the online, and the answer there is a little more challenging. How do you have an online discussion board, post a topic, expect the students to talk, and not talk too much as the instructor in that space, but be present so that the students know that you're paying attention? There's nothing more than putting a question out there and having students respond to it, and then the students not see any engagement from the instructor. So there's ways of doing that. You could have a video response that you put in once a week where you call out things that you've read because you're paying attention to this thing that you're, expecting the students to do, or doing a video like that. A tool that I started using that could help with this, if you're using a text-based means of communication, is voice in, voice typing. And so if your LMS tool doesn't have a dictation tool, you can get this for your Chrome browser, and it's called voice in, voice typing. And on, I think, episode 13 of Control-Alt-Achieve, Eric Kurtz brings this this tool to us on his podcast. So go check that out. And you can turn it on and you can talk, and the words come out in wherever the cursor is in that text box. So that's one way that I've actually been being more intentional in communication with my students. All right, hang on one second. Another one more thing for April 14, 2022, as I'm still talking about episode 50 of the High Tech Podcast with Will and Josh, they bring us a tool, Adobe Premiere Rush, and otherwise known as Adobe Rush, which is the light version of Adobe Premiere, which is a super powerful video editing software that you need to have access to through an education account or a paid version of that to get access to more ability with it. And it's mobile based for iPads and iPhones, and it's also available on the desktop so you can move stuff around. I think I'm going to start maybe giving this a try. I've got my Mother's Day project coming along where I'm expecting the students to make a video for their moms and to write a little story and some words and have some pictures, do some music and some light video editing for their mom. This is going to incorporate a number of the different techniques and graphic design things that we have done over the school year to get students to use maybe Adobe Spark, now known as Adobe Creative Cloud Express, to make the title for their video and put that in. But they are going to be recording some audio and video and using that in their video. So I'm going to take a look at this, see if that would be a good option to WeVideo, because I like WeVideo, but sometimes WeVideo can be cumbersome, just like other Adobe products can become cumbersome at some point. All right, that's all. Huffing and puffing. Talk to you guys later, Will and Josh. Appreciate you. Okay, bye. The last thing for April 14, 2022. Before I get started, take a look at the sky. It's getting bright, it's getting lighter. It's 5:40 a.m. and the light is starting to come up here. This is after the time change, so that is super awesome. Super excited about that because the day's light is getting longer, and that's a really good thing. All right, so how do you get your news? I get my news from Facebook and whatever people tweet about, and on Twitter, and places like that. That is, the snippets of the short version of the long version, and the long version is there for me to go back to take a look at. But the short version, oh my goodness, we like the short version. You like the short version? I think you like the short version. So because of the short version, I listened to episode 2 of the EdTech News Brief podcast that has just started, launched by none other than the man himself, Jake Miller. And so Jake brings us a brief news account of the current state of EdTech and new things that are happening and updates that are happening, so that I don't have to go back to, the source of Microsoft or Google help support pages to find out all these details. He distills them down and brings them to us so that we can get the news in a short, concise bit of time. So thanks, Jake, for your new podcast. I'm excited about it. And my thoughts on this, I'll tell you how I voted. I voted for a weekly podcast. So, now, one of those responses to your survey isn't anonymous. It's mine. I fess up. And I like a weekly thing because bi-weekly is too fast. I think it'd be too much work for you too. You're trying to cool the jets a little and be able to figure out how to do life a bit better. So that's my thought for helping you with self-care. Okay, so in this episode, Jake brings us Screen Pal, talks about Google in the classroom, and a part of the paid feature of Google for Workspace for Education coming with AI to help Mark. And then he talks about Microsoft's reading response tool and how it can help in your classroom space. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, all. Take a listen to this. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, it is Friday, April 15th, 2022. Happy Good Friday to you. And this is my friend Todd Dykow. So, hey, Todd, how you doing?
Great this morning.
Good. Where are we at, Todd?
We are in Merritt.
And what are we doing here?
We are on our way fishing.
We're going fishing. So in the background, you can see snow still up in the hills. It's going to be a chilly one when we're on the water today, but hopefully we catch some fish and it'll be good. This morning we listened to On the Road, episode 223 of the Wired Educator podcast with Kelly Croy, and you talked with Dawn Harris today, Kelly. And thoughts about that, Todd? What did we hear? What did you think about?
Well, it reminded me of fishing. You don't go fishing because you're going to catch fish. You go fishing because you love to do it. And that was what we heard about this morning, was Dawn expressing a true passion and a love for education. And you can't always focus on whether or not you're going to reel in that big one. You just got to focus in on what you're doing at the moment.
Exactly. Something you said, Dawn, about, in your book about that section about evaluation and how we get all fired up and excited and anxious about being evaluated. The administrator comes in, and my question for you and Todd is aren't we ready for that all the time? We need to be, right?
You got to be. And you got to realize, too, that you're not going to be on every single day. If you put that kind of pressure on yourself, you'll never last as an educator. You got to realize that you need those days where you can survive. But saying that, you've got to be on top of it all the time. You got to be ready and prepared for whatever life's going to throw at you. and those kids are going to throw a lot at you.
I think it's important that we stay up on our professional development and our professional learning, and more than those 6 days a week that we are expected to be somewhere. And that goes into the passion about education, about how we learn and what do we do outside of those minutes, right?
And remember, when you share, you care. And education is not all about being a lone wolf. Make sure you got somebody with you to carry you through.
Exactly. This guy has brought me along and taught me some stuff over the years. We both goes both ways, and you know what? We care about each other. That's what makes a difference. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Don. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. My one word for 2021 is appreciate. I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.